Hi, and welcome to Animal Kingdom. I'm Dr. Reedy. I'll be teaching the class this semester, and I'm hoping that I'm going to really blow your mind with some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at and the variety of animals that are out there. Unless you've had a general zoology class before, you may be very surprised because vertebrates are a teensy-weensy little itty-bitty bit. They're about this much of the animal kingdom, okay? Less than about 5%, okay? But we're aware of them because there's so much out there that's our size among the vertebrates. Most animals are very tiny, okay? Most animals you need a microscope to see, which is the good news because we can use microscopes to see a lot. We can store a lot of slides and do all sorts of cool things often from the comfort of our homes or from our museums or whatnot. So we're going to start off the semester learning a little bit about animal classification. And then as we go through the semester, we're going to start looking at different kinds of animals. And we're going to use this idea of classification, this idea that we can really reconstruct how organisms are related to each other to start to make some sense of this incredible variety of living things out there. Now you might have noticed what looks like some sort of a space alien behind me. Let me move out of the way for a moment. Can you figure out what it is? Okay. This is a friend of mine. Okay. It is a larval fish, a very basal fish, okay, in quote. I'm using the word fish in quote. Does not have a jaw, okay, and but it does have, right up here, you can just see it, a notochord, okay. You're looking at gills. These are the gills, which they're using for feeding, to help start filtering out some of the particles, okay. So this is the pharynx area. And what's this little thing? This is actually designed to increase the amount of space, the surface area inside this cavity, kind of like the folds in our intestine. So we're going to start looking at organisms in sections like this. We're going to be looking at whole organisms, and we're going to start learning how they're divided. The first group of organisms we're going to be looking at have only one cell, okay? When I was in high school, when I was an undergraduate, to get into the club of animals, you had to be multicellular. Then we learned about DNA, okay, and we learned about RNA, and we learned that we could classify things based upon DNA and RNA similarities. We found out that we used to just write off as the protists actually are a very diverse group of organisms, that it makes as much sense to put all the protists together just because they're one cell as it does to put begonias and schnauzers together because they're multicellular. Okay, so the protists, we've had since divided up that whole protozoa thing into multiple kingdoms. And one of those little groups, one of those little tiny one-cell critters called the Quantozoans, stood out in that it was more like us than any other one-cell group. And when you start looking at how the DNA is arranged and what's linked to what and some of the proteins that they make, we had to really ask ourselves, is our bias towards multicellularity just that, a bias? And are we just prejudiced against one-celled animals? And the answer kind of was, yeah, we are. So the Quantozoans became our first one-celled animal, okay? When we figured that out, other things began to fall into place. The sponges, which used to be one phylum, Porifera, okay, now we realize there's a lot of variety in there. They have been isolated from everybody else, doing their own thing for well over 500 million years, okay? They are a group of phyla, okay? There's some very different things about them. Some of them make skeletons of silica. Some make them of calcium. Some have something that kind of looks like an epithelium. like a skin. Most of them, not so much. So we began to break those up. Then we're going to start looking, once we go from there, we're going to start looking at things that live life in the round, things like sea jellies and sea walnuts. And once we pass that, we are into the bilateral organisms, things that have a right and left side. Take an axe, go down the middle, and you've got mirror images. And except for these few phyla that we're going to be covering at the beginning of the semester, everything else is bilateral. Now, if you had asked me at the beginning of time what was going to be the dominant life form on the planet, I put my money on the jellies. Okay, jellies see everything in the round. They have perceptions going all around their bodies. Many of them have sets of eyes organized in 8 sets around the body. Scent organs everywhere. That they're efficient feeders. But something about bilateralism really, really gave it the edge, and the bilateral organisms dominate. So we have to figure out how to break up the bilaterals, and it's very nicely we can break them up into 3 major groups, and we're going to go through those group by group by group across the semester. Try to understand each of these 3 major groups, what makes them alike, what makes them different, and one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do is try to think in terms of these 3 major groupings of bilateral organisms and then these few other little guys off to the side that haven't figured out that bilateral was going to win yet, kind of like me. And take them and start subdividing all these living things into these categories, because that's going to really, really help you learn stuff. The other thing that's going to be very, very helpful, cut your study time down a lot, is figuring out what the words mean. Words are fascinating. I'm a hidden linguist, I think. I love words. I love word origins. And if you understand why words were chosen for different groups and what they mean, you're going to start seeing roots and suffixes popping up here and there. And they're going to make more sense. It's going to act like a little mental trigger, little switch, which is going to tell you what different things do. So when you're looking at items in phyla in the epitheliozoa, for example, they're going to have a epithelium. Okay, if you've got something that the suffix phora, P-H-O-R-A or F-E-R-A, it means to bear, to carry. So the porifera are going to be the pore bearers. Ctenophora, the comb bearers, okay? And so on. Whenever you see that, just think of that. This is a technique, a little handy memory thing that's going to help you in anatomy. It will help you in this class. It'll help you in invertebrate zoology. And in medicine, if you're going into any health field. So please, please, please start learning some of these roots. It'll also get you a better grade on your GRE generals. And with this, we're going to get started into our first lecture, which is going to be posted right after this. And all the lectures are going to be put into little folders. Lecture 1 folder, Lecture 2 folder, Lecture 3, and you're just going to work through them. There's going to be a quiz in each folder. And then at about 3 points during the semester, 3-4 points during the semester, I haven't yet decided at the time I'm making this video, maybe up to 5. But at regular intervals at any rate, there will be some tests, okay? There's going to be practical examinations, and there's going to be multiple choice examinations. So the tests I'm going to be assuming are going to be open book, because I cannot control who does and does not have their notes in front of them while taking the exam. You've got one, they will be timed. So when you do the examinations, it's going to be important that you know the material. Okay, if you don't know the material, if you got to be looking up everything, you're going to flunk, because you're just going to run out of time. But what you want to do is maybe have one page, a few notes on it that you might refer to, and that's it. You're not going to be able to get everything down. You're not going to be able to look up everything. You won't have the time. So know the material, and that's what you really want to do anyways. You really want to know this material, not just for this class, but also for your graduate record examinations and for the future. There will be both practical exams and multiple choice exams. There's going to be a discussion board where if we're not in class and you want to ask a question of me or other class members, you can do that. And what else? Something else. What was it? I'm having a brain freeze. Discussion board. There's going to be, there will be a project, and we're going to talk more about the project later. Normally that's an insect collection if we're on campus. We're not on campus, so we're not going to be able to do the insect collection, but we'll be able to do something. Okay, we're going to figure out something to do, which again I will talk about later, to enrich your experience. Now I'm hoping that everybody got a little microscope. I have encouraged people to try to get one. This is the one that I got. I really kind of like this. And this one was about 100. If you have to make a choice between the microscope and the textbook, I'd go with the microscope, okay? The little dissecting scope. That's gonna keep you in a good stead for a long time. I remember what that other thing was, okay? Another way to think about this class. This class is your shopping list, okay? As we go through the semester, you're going to be finding a lot of different animals that do a lot of different things. So as you're going through, okay, think about how animals do things, what they're doing, how they're related to us. And when it comes time to pick a model organism in the future, whether you need a model organism for work, or you need a model organism for your doctoral thesis or your master's thesis, or you want to demonstrate something in a class, you know what to go and look for, okay? You know what's out there, you know what animals have done, you know what's available. This is your parts list for developing your theses later. So this and botany, okay? Plant kingdom is the other one that will really give you a lot of good things for your shopping list. So please, please enjoy the class. It's going to be a lot of work. What I'm hoping to do is have the sessions online being more lab-oriented. I'm going to be recording a good proportion of the lecture sessions. And if you have to do something and parcel out your time, watch the lectures, okay? The lectures are going to be much more important than any lab book or any book available. So please, hopefully you'll enjoy this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.